Hello everyone. Our group video presentation is talking about Russia, and and we will have four parts. The first part is Russia and globalization. Then the second part is economic and human development in Russia. The third part is cultural distance between Russia and Australia, and the last part is industry selection in international trade. Russia has been a winner generally as a result of globalization and the leadership of Putin. Although it encounters setbacks in the early stage of engaging in the globalized trend, globalization refers to a global process of interaction and the integration between different countries from the perspectives of economy, politics, culture, and other dimensions. And the economic globalization defined as the interdependent trend of national economies across the world due to the development of cross-border communication, goods deliveries and storage, and capital transfers. The impact of globalization on Russia mainly centralized in the economic aspects both positively and negatively. We found that the influence of globalization on Russian economic development through a kind of theoretical and practical analysis, and indicates that globalization causes negative influence at Russian national economy. Through their analysis, those negative influences include the reduction of domestic financial institutions, the outflow of capital, decrease in the competitiveness of domestic enterprise, and outflow of qualified labor. Based on the research results, globalization indeed brings some negative sides to the Russian domestic economy. Globalization speeds up the flow of capital and labor between different countries across the world due to the branch establishment of transnational enterprise and the different ranks of payment among nations around the globe. Russia's domestic industries encounter great competitiveness under the global background and shape a sort of independence on global economies and the transnational enterprises, which weakens the vitality of Russian domestic economy. However, Putin implements a series of policies to revive the Russian economy. Russian economy faces great shock from globalization after Russia joins WTO in the early stage of engaging in globalization. Then, Putin creates a new concept of globalization by connecting economy to the political system in a way of establishing an authoritarian and super-centralized state. Although Putin undertakes a kind of authoritarian and centralized political structure in Russia, however, the progress in economic development indicates that centralized political system is compatible with Russian economic recovery and supports the process of international economic integration as well. In this sense, Putin seems to find a creative and effective way to develop Russian globalized economy. Thus, Russia's engagement of the global economy brings positiveness to its domestic political system as well as its economic weakness in the Putin era.
I will talk about the second part, economic and human development in Russia. According to their respective assessment measures, Russia's economic and human development level is relatively high. There are more than 100 countries in the world, and their level of economic development vary greatly due to difference in education, innovation, and infrastructure, and natural resources. There are basically two measures to assess a country's economic development, including GNI and PVP. Therefore, in order to assess Russia's economic development, its GNI and PPP should be considered. According to the website Microtrends, the per capita GNI of Russia for 2018 was $10,230, increased from 2017. The Russian per capita GNI has shown a growth trend from 2017 to 2018 after a few years of decline, but the data shows that Russia still wants to catch up with some developed countries with higher per capita GNI, such as USA, Canada, and Australia. Then there is still a long way to go. On the other hand, PPP matters a lot to Russia because it's a significant criterion to evaluate the economic status of Russia in international economic and trend as well as political issues. According to the evaluation of the World Bank, Russia is the sixth largest in PPP in the world, including the EU. Compared to the USA, who is the largest economy with the largest GDP and PPP, Russia still needs to make greater efforts to develop its economy. In general, compared with all other countries in the world, Russia's economic development level is relatively high, but Russia still cannot belong to the first-class big country, which requires Russia to make more efforts in economic construction. Human development is another important index to evaluate the national comprehensive power of Russia because the HDI is closely associated with the process of strengthening people's freedom and happiness in one nation. As for human development, there are three measures, including life expectancy at birth, educational attainment, and PPP based on average income. Russian HDI presents a constantly increasing trend for decades and reaches a peak in 2017. However, when it's compared to HDI in some other developed countries in the world, Russia still has a lower level of human development. Professors at Russian People's Friendship University analyzes HDI of Russia and other CIS countries and observed that Australian HDI is 0.97 in 2007, while Russian HDI is 0.817 in the same year, which indicates that Russia is less developed than Australia in the aspect of human development that decides whether people live a happy and abundant life in one nation. Through the comparison of HDI between Australia and Russia, it's easily observed that people in Australia enjoy a higher developing index, which means their life expectancy is much longer. Their educational years are much longer and their PPP is much higher. In other words, Australian people enjoy better living conditions than Russian people. Economic development measures rather than human development measures are of greater importance to an Australian enterprise that aims to establish branches in Russia because human development is based on the development of economy, and economic development is a decisive factor to determine the success of international trade. Among the two measures of the economic development in Russia, GNI is the most key measure to judge the economic conditions of one nation and decide whether it's a proper nation to do investment. Although other measures also play an important role in indicating the economic growth in one nation. The biggest target for foreign investment is to establish a kind of good cooperative relationship with at least one target enterprise in a nation that should contain well-educated labor, a well-developing economy, and a helpful nation prospect. Compared with the EU and the USA, Russia is not very attractive to foreign investment because its economic conditions are not as favorable as those of these countries. In addition, the author explores the correlation between per capita FDI and per capita GNI and finds that Russia's relevant index is much higher than many developed countries in the US and Europe, indicating that the Russian economy relies heavily on foreign investment, and Russia still needs to pay more efforts before becoming the super economic power.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about culture distance between Russia and Australia. Russia culture tend to the more eastern, however, Australia tend to the west valley. So Russia and Australia should share views similar in culture. According to Forbes states, six dimension of national culture in its model. The fourth dimension is the power distance. The different level of the power distance imply the people's attitude towards powers and orders in one nation. The PDI is a power design index. It is created to measure power distance in the nation. The PDI of Russia is 19.3, while the Australia is 36, which reflects that Russia has a much larger power distance than Australia. In this way, people in Russia prefer to follow authoritarian leadership, while Australia people like to follow the kind of democratic leadership. And the second dimension is avoidance. That refers of the social tolerance for ambiguity. Different culture present different level of tolerance for unpredictable issue in their cultures. Russia and Australia show stores in the aspect of uncertainty avoidance, respectively 51 in Australia and 95 in Russia. It shows Russia is a country that strict conform to social orders and rules, and avoid traditional behavior and thoughts. While Australia people have a relatively tolerant and relaxing social environment in which non-traditional concept and acceptable. Then individualism or collectivism is another dimension to evaluate the culture distance between Russia and Australia. The source of individualism in Russia is 39, but in Australia is 19, which indicates that Australia pursue a high level of individualism than Russia. If Australia business to investment in Russia, it's very necessary to get to know the collective with Russia people. The fourth culture dimension is masculinity or femininity. If a culture is inclined to the measure masculine, it means that competition, accomplishment, and ambitions drive. If a country is feminine, the social value are crave for other people and pursuit of quality and comfort. The scores of mas- masculinity in Australia is 61, while in Russia is 19.6, 36, which imply the Australia so, social pursue a sense of achievements and success. Side long-term or short-term orientation is another culture dimension to distinguish culture from different nations. The source of Australia and Russia, respected as 21 and 89, which means the Russia evaluates the long-term orientation more than Australia. The last cultural dimension is indulgence or restaurant. According to the Hall state, the dimensions is designed the testing the level of which people attempt to control their desires and impulse. If a country is indulgent, the people in the country are easy to get educated to their desires and lack self-discipline. People in one country have a resistance self-discipline and self-control. Compared to Australia and Russia has extra low scores for indulgence. Is yes, scores is 20, while Australia scores is 79, 71. Thus, it can be seen that Russia is a country with strict social norm and strong social restriction, and the people are believe indulgence is bad sense for the growth of person. Based on Horford's six-dimension comparison between Russia and Australia, their two countries show a few similarity and they are totally disparate. Therefore, during the process of talking, dark under talking international trend, it's very important to evaluate and pay more attention to their country's culture's difference.
The next part, industry selection in international trade. Countries should specialize in industries in which they own advanced and innovative techniques and products that they can produce more efficiently. At the same time, they should buy products from other countries that they can less efficiently produce.
According to David Ricardo, his theory of comparative advantages told that countries should specialize in productions which they have both absolute and relative advantages. For Russia and Australia, both of two countries should specialize their advantages productions with the least cost and the most efficiency. For Russia, its comparative advantages are natural resources such as petrol, gas, coal, and other resources. However, its disadvantages is high technology industries. In this situation, Russia should specialize in resource-based industries such as the petrol industry, the gas industry, and the coal industry. On the contrary, Russia should import vehicles, high technique equipment, and chemical products. On the other hand, because of the natural resources and the excellent climate conditions, Australia should focus on agricultural products, minerals, and energy. In this way, Australia should specialize in production of wheat, coal, wool, gold, gas, and wine, when the nation undertakes trade with other countries. All right, this is all of our video. Thank you for listening.
Also,